Hi everybody and welcome to 120. Today I'm going to talk about Belt Road Initiative. This is one of the deep dive series and on one aspect of Belt Road Initiative. Belt Road Initiative is the new Silk Road. And today I'm going to talk about a little bit about this growing point of contention between Europe, U.S. and China and the rise of China. Now, no country on planet Earth could pass and have a scorecard of all A pluses. And when criticism is due, it's due. But there's been a lot of pushback on China for its ambitions through the Belt Road Initiative. Now, China is basically exporting and pushing through four things: its standards, its capital and investment, its overcapacity of manufacturing and infrastructure at home, and its workforce and labor. And European Union and US jointly are very restless about these perhaps posturings of China and accusing it of debt trap diplomacy and saddling emerging countries, flooding those markets with Chinese workers, leaving very little added value behind. And there are various cases and points, and like anything else on China's trajectory, Belt Road Initiative is not just one Belt Road Initiative. Belt Road Initiative is dependent on which market and when. The early stages have been some rather, I would say, crude ways of setting it up. And like other product development or technology development or perhaps trade relationship development, China is starting to fine-tune and perhaps enhance its engagement with sovereign stakeholders at the other end. So the scorecard of China, for that matter, on Belt Road Initiative is a range of A's and maybe one or two A pluses, and a lot of B's and some C's and D's for sure. And very much where China has engaged as a counterparty, as a sovereign state, has been a reflection of the quality of these BRI deals. So for the example, the Greece model or the Central Eastern Europe models of the deals stroke between China and these countries are far better than some of the early deals and investments in Asia Pacific. The level of corruption in the host country as well is a reflection on where these deals are. Like, it takes two to tango in more ways than one. So, but in order to challenge China, it's all good, but we shouldn't be doing so out of just pushing back without looking in the rear mirror view. And a perfect example that is very much related to global geostrategic, geoeconomic, and I would say political ambitions is the Panama Canal. And Panama Canal opened in 1914 at the time of Theodore Roosevelt, who was the president of the United States at the time. The main purpose of Panama Canal was twofold: to shorten the time of commerce and trade between east and west coast of the United States, point to point, and at the same time to connect the fleet of Atlantic Fleet and Pacific Fleet of U.S. Navy at the same time. But Panama Canal was originally started as a French expedition and company who wanted to make a canal through a piece of land which at the time was no Panama, was Colombia. And when they failed and lost 25,000 lives, talking about labor rights and employee rights and well-being, fast forward, they sold that right to United States. United States then whispered and murmured in the ears of Panama and its perhaps province of Colombia at the time that, hey, you break up and we invest and everything will be very happy moving forward. So Panama was somewhat carved out of Colombia. The canal was built on the back of 25,000 extra lives perished, majority of them black slaves, victim to tropical diseases, terrible conditions of work and labor, for which Panama had a canal, but of which Panama had only 5% of the revenues for a good 60, 70 years. So you have it there, carving out a piece of land, making a canal, having an imbalanced economic model, and then yet, yes, it's been a success story from the trade and commerce, and 5% of the world's commerce passes through Panama Canal. But fast forward that and the legality of the same practice to today, and compare that and run that against Belt Road Initiative, and to say, is Belt Road Initiative all malign or all benign? Is it all good? Is it all bad? And by just pushing China away and trying to cordon it off, does that produce a better, more harmonious world? And if this is our own record, would that stack up in the criticism we are making towards China? And if there are valid criticisms, how to address them to China? Theodore Roosevelt, on legality of Panama Canal, asks Philander Knox, his advisor and confidant, and says, is this legal, what we're doing? And he says, oh, Mr. President, do not let so great of an achievement suffer from any taint of legality. So geostrategic, geopolitical, geoeconomical imperatives, in more cases than one historically, have diluted the spirit of how things are done. This happens through decades and centuries. So to have a halo effect and to have a top-down preaching effect is not constructive without looking in the rear mirror view. And for that matter, China is going to push back. Now, imagine if tomorrow or in, 3 years' time, China talks to Thailand on province of Ranong, and between the Gulf of Thailand and Andaman Sea, China decides to open a canal as big or as glorious as Panama Canal, but with better rights, with better model of profit sharing, and in order to avoid the trap of Strait of Malacca. Would United States and the French, who were the engineers of Panama Canal in the first place, would they accept that? Would they allow that to happen? Would they tolerate that, or will they exert pressure on Thailand that you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't allow that? So when you look at the history, the complexities are much bigger and much more complex than simplifying and saying, this is good, that is bad, mine is good, yours is bad. What we shouldn't rush into is to simplifying and perhaps diluting the history and simplifying some of these more challenging topics that we have to live and deal with. In between, keep healthy and keep well.